Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Welcome to Chandria Circle Back the live podcast that happens every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. And the goal of this podcast is to really help new managers succeed in their role. So, sometime tonight, we look forward to hearing or taking a phone call from a new manager that may have an issue in the workplace that I can help them resolve live. But before we get to that call, we don't know when that call happens, but usually I have a couple minutes before the call to share with you some career tips. But before we get to that call, we're going to talk today about the quality of your work. Now, I want to bring this topic to conversation because it's something that we don't really talk about. We just all assume that we just do really, really good work. And tonight, I really want us to just talk about the quality of what good work looks like and how do we know that we're doing good work. So, as a career leadership executive coach, I meet with leaders all over the world and discuss like best practices to hire, recruit, and retain talent. And in conversation, we're always talking about who's the best talent for the role. And sometimes the best talent is based on their industry knowledge, a core competency based on specific niche, their years of experience in the role. The formula changes often depending on the company, the leader, the desire. So there's no like quite like a formula I can share to say this is the formula to know if you're right for a role because it just changes often. As I mentioned, some things you can think about though is like your years of experience in a position, the quality of your competency, like what skills have you gained in that role? Have you really buckled down in an industry and decided that you are going to invest your time to learn the industry knowledge? Or is it specific niche? So do you know technical skills based on a degree? So those are the three things the three characteristics and traits that decide on a job for companies and hiring managers. So put that in your back pocket. Think about those three things because those are the things that are really, really important. However, I want to talk today about the quality of work and what does it mean to be a good worker. And I bring this topic up because when I was like really young, I had a mentor who told me, he said, Chandria, if you do good work will follow you. And everyone that knows me knows I've always had a job. Like I've always worked. Like literally one of my girlfriends told me, she's like, you're never without a job. Like, how do you do that? And I really think the statement from my mentor is true. Literally, if you do good work will follow you. Your goal right now is to know what is the good work that you actually do. And it takes a lot to figure that out because when you're hired for a position, you work within that position, you get a certain task or responsibility, and your career just starts to like make a path for itself. But tonight, I want you to focus on that path, and I want you to think about the jobs that you have signed up for and the task that was given to you in that job, because that is probably what you're really, really good at. And as I mentioned, if you do good work will follow you. Here's how I know. So let's just do this like this think test for me. I want you to think about, and you don't have to tell me, but just think about it to yourself. Who's the best cake maker you know? Someone came to mind, right? Bing, you thought about someone. That person is not probably on the live or on the call, or you hadn't talked to them in a couple of days because you don't need a cake, but they came top of mind because you heard me ask who is the best cake maker. You want to be that person that when someone asks who is the best graphic designer, who is the best person that can help with this ADP implementation, who is the best person I should call when it comes to culture. And just like you thought about your cake maker that you love, You want to be the person that comes to mind when your skill set is on the table. So your goal is to work every job that you get as if it's the best job ever, because your professional reputation is not just on the line, but it's actually how you get another opportunity. So I'm not sure coming up with this quote, but I love it, and it says like, most decisions about your career is made when you're not in the room, and that is 100% true. Like, I am in the room all the time, and I'm hearing people talk about career opportunities, and we're talking about people who are not in the rooms who can defend themselves. So your goal is when you're not in the room to be in the room because of your skill set. Now, how do you do that? Look at your current resume. Whether you love the companies or not, whether you love your supervisors or colleagues or not, put that to the side. Look at what the job title of that you held. Look at how long you were in that position. Then think about the task that you were assigned in that role. Was it an implementation? Was it a new project? Was it overseeing vendors? What were your tasks? There's no task that's too big or too small. Even if you were just overseeing the front desk, it doesn't matter. Whatever your task was, is important to the business. Now, I want you to take paper and write down the task that you did for each of the jobs you've held. And then I want you to circle the tasks that you actually enjoyed doing the most. And see that you see a trend in your career path. Because if you see a trend in your career path, that is going to be your first step to knowing what you do well. So I oftentimes meet with leaders who are, well, people who are getting ready to go into leadership, and like, oh my goodness, I don't know what I do well. But now make them start there. Literally, let's talk about every job you've held, what were your responsibilities, and what did you do well. I also want you to pull up your performance evaluations. What were they evaluating you on? Like, what does the job description say? And what do you do well based on that evaluation? Put all that information together, and then bam, you know what you do well. And you may not have had like the words, but now you have the words to connect to what you do well. And the next step is to strengthen those skills. So join the associations, get involved with local chapters, really think if you want to embody and be a part, embody the skill sets that is necessary for that role, but be a part of that industry. Because now you have, a clear eyesight of what you can do and what you could do well. I remember one time, like I said, I've always had a job and I was in college, and I would take on temporary assignments. And I remember graduating college like, oh my goodness, I've only done temporary work. Who's gonna like hire me? I didn't have much of internships. I was a first generational graduate. I'm like, man, who's gonna hire me with this? Let me tell you all. I sat down and I looked at every temporary assignment that I worked on. Every assignment I was on was at least for about 6 months. And I was the administrative assistant, stepping in place for the admin who was out for whatever reason they were out. But I was the administrative assistant for a C-suite leader in every one of my projects. And so I thought, girl, you got something going on here. Like, literally, every one of my temporary assignments, I was supporting a C-suite leader who was overseeing a company and their admin was out. Think about the pressure that I had to be under to step in the seat as an administrative assistant to a C-suite leader in 6 months. When I learned my story, oh my goodness, I couldn't wait to tell him. Like, look, I have for over the last 2 semesters, 2 years, while in college, working full time in temporary roles, supporting C-suite leaders when their administrative assistant was out. The looks on the faces of those hiring managers was like, that's amazing, because what I was able to show was like my agility, my resiliency, my ability to step in and learn schedules, and then I was working at the highest level. So Don't cut yourself short. Look at what you've been doing and look at your career story and strengthen it. And honestly, I've always been around C-suite leaders. Now I'm an executive coach, but I've always hung out with the big dogs. And it started from me working in temporary positions in college, which is really cool because I began to learn their mannerisms, their schedule, how their time is limited, how to manage their time, what are they working on. I learned board terminology. Like, I learned so much. So now in my career, I mean, I'm able to just do what I need to do for them because I've learned very early as a temporary admin what they need. So if you hadn't learned anything today here, I want to recap for you. Your career story is already on paper. You have done some amazing work, and people will call you for that work if you know what your work is. So go ahead and look at that resume and start to create look at the trends of what you have done well and paint your career story. The quality of your work will always find work for you. It will always find work for you. People want to work with people who are going to do a good job. And so they know you're going to do a good job. They're going to be like, let's put this person on the project. Let's call this person for a project. Listen, literally my entire career, I've gotten phone calls for big opportunities that I never knew was even available because of the work ethic. So I'll take some questions in the chat. If you have any questions about your career story, the assignment I gave you to figure out like what you do well. As I mentioned, most decisions about your career are made when you're not in the room. So when you're in the room, it is your time to absolutely shine and hold a great reputation for doing an awesome job. And no job is too small. I was a temporary assistant for C-suite leaders for 2 solid years at about 4 different companies, supporting that C-suite professional. And at first I thought, man, I have nothing to offer. And then I looked at it real clear. I'm like, oh, I have a lot to offer here. To step in as an admin and, do this to do this temporarily and for them to trust me while their full-time admin is on maternity leave or family leave or whatever it is, that was a really big deal. So any questions for my, what do I want to call you all? Any questions for my friends? You all are my friends. You all are my HR colleagues. What questions do you have for me about the topic of like the quality of your work? I don't want to go down the path of saying like we need to do better work because you all know that. I can also talk about how sometimes people just don't complete projects and don't get it done well. And I don't want to go down there either. I want you to focus on what you do well and the quality of the work that you do well. I got a question. How do you recommend staying resilient during long job searches or rejections? Oh, that's a great question. Staying resilient during long job searches or rejections. So before I ask you to stay resilient, I want to make sure that what you're doing is effective. It just needs to catch up with you. So what I mean when I say catch up with you is like in marketing, they say you have to really talk to someone 3 times before you sell. And there's this number of like probability when it comes to actually landing a job as well. It's like how many times you apply to different jobs based on the interviews. And it's this formula. I don't know it. But what I want to tell you is there's this math equation that's going on right now with you and your job search that you really can't control. All you can do is continue to apply. But before you apply, I want to help you with the resiliency part, but I want to start first by saying, is your resume the best it can be? Are you telling your career story? Have you responded to the job description appropriately? Do you know what you can bring to the table? And are you telling those those hiring managers in the right way what you can offer them? So first, check that out. Make sure your resume is solid. Tell the career story. What are some projects you've been on? How did you impact those projects? Why do you want this job? And the reason why, when people ask that question, they truly want to know what value you can bring to their department, to the project, if you want that job. So be able to answer those questions in a very genuine way. Once you get that part together, I want you to focus on the good things that you've done. So every night before you lay down, I want you to write out to yourself something that you've done in your industry that was impactful. So, as an example, every night I sit down and I write something that makes me feel good about my career. So, whether it's the way I handled an email today, whether it was a way an executive responded to my feedback today, whether it was how I crafted an email, like, you sit down and write something good about what you've done in your career. What that does for you mentally is to help you prepare for that opportunity. You know it's coming for you because you've done good work. I know we all have vision boards, which are so important, but your success board is just as important, because when you need a reminder to know that you do good work, you can look at the success board and say, look, man, we completed that project in record breaking time. I was able to help save this person. I was able to help do X, Y, and Z. So your success board matters so much to you when you're looking for opportunities in anything. But I want you to look at that success board. I want you to write every night something you've done well and why you're so deserving of your next position. Because energy attracts. And once you start feeling really good about yourself, your job search is going to get cut short, because you feel good about yourself. You're going to show up and exude that energy, and they're going to want to hire you. So every night, make a note, look at your success board, know your job is coming, apply with intention. Don't just sit down and apply to all the jobs you see. Really look at what job you're going to apply to and why. And when you look at the job, you want to go on LinkedIn and figure out what you can. So the job description will tell you the department, probably. It'll tell you what the work that needs to be done. You want to figure out why. There's some context clues in that job description as to why they're hiring for that role. So you want to find that as well. So you go look on LinkedIn and figure out who's the hiring person or hiring team, and begin to talk to them. Tell the story. Hey, I see you're hiring for someone who can do payroll with this new ADP system. Just 2 months ago, I overseen the payroll implementation for a department of 400 people. It was so smooth and effective. We finished it before the deadline. I would love to talk to you about your new implementation. See how that sounds? It makes me know that you know what I need. So be resilient by focusing on your good work. You do good quality work. Make sure you tell yourself that all the time. Be genuine when you apply to these jobs. Really respond to the job description, because AI can write a whole lot, but AI cannot create that finesse, that nuance about what you really did that's going to really speak to that recruiter. So make sure you are mindful of that as well. And then just keep your head up, keep going. The search is on. I think the last thing I'll add to this is your network. So network effectively. Most people want to interact with people they've never met and reach out and say, hey, I'm such and such, take a chance on me. We don't even want to take a chance on a new meal at a restaurant. Come on now. Y'all know that. Go to a restaurant, our favorite meal is gone. We're like, what? We're upset. People don't want to take a chance on someone they don't know, or someone they don't know. Like, who are you? Who sent you? So another good idea is for you to network with your people. Go talk to the people who know your work, who know you do well, who you can say, hey, you know what? I'm ready for my next big project. I'm ready for my next big challenge here. And I'm starting a soft search. And if you hear of anything, you let me know. The person that knows that you can do that work will have no issues co-signing you or sending a soft email or doing an introduction, but they have to know that you could do that work. Do you hear me? Like, no. And I say that straight up because we don't want to say that out loud, right? People will email and say, hey, will you what is it? Recommend me for this job. And I'm like, sure, if I'm the recruiter, let's talk. And even if you're even the person who's recruiting for the job is going to ask you to talk for 30 minutes if you have a solid resume. So even the recruiter who works for the company or get paid by the company will want at least a conversation. So no one's going to recommend you blindly. I'm so sorry to tell you, it's the truth. But the people who know your work, they're going to say, you know what? Every day, all day, I will stamp and put my name behind it. You're solid. You do awesome work. Let me help you through this. Because that's a great question, billionaire banker. I hope that I responded and helped you with your thoughts. All right, y'all, the phone lines are open. Phone lines are open. If you are a new manager, you have a question for me, and we can unpack the problem you have at work right now, call us, and we will figure it out. We'll figure it out. All right, tech team, what are you walking in like you know something? You like you know something. Any more questions? Any more questions for me? 100%. Any more questions for me? No. Does anyone have any questions for me about the quality of your work, your career story, networking? That was a good question that really had me talk about everything at once. Did we see any more questions on here? Did I miss one at all? Let's see. Did I miss anything? No? You all are awfully shy tonight. Any questions? Well, the phone lines are open, and I would love to call from a new manager who is needing some support, something that's happening at work. So please give us a call, and I will, answer your question. Remember, I'm the only one live. You're not. You're not live. Sharing your name or your face. All it's going to be is me talking about your career. Do we have any callers? Do we have any questions? Okay. Okay, is the call coming through? All right, it's the call coming through. Hello, it's Coach Shan. I'm doing well. How are you?
Doing well. Thank you for asking.
You are so welcome. So I would love for you to just give me an overview of your issue. And then tonight, what we're going to do is unpack it. And hopefully you'll leave this call with some actionable items to help you move forward.
All right. Sounds good.
Okay. So before we get started, what state are you located?
I'm located in Georgia.
Okay, Georgia. And how old are you?
I am 46.
46. And how long have you been in management?
Oh, probably 20 plus years.
All right. Well, let's do it. What can I help you with today?
Yeah. So actually, I've been in this role of management, and for about 6 weeks.
Okay.
This is a new position for me. We have a metric system that we have to meet, where we actually utilize the people that are actually clocked in according to a metric that's called utilization, that basically allows us to be able to monitor those that are clocked in on the clock and they are actually logged into an app. So basically, this has been something that I've been being challenged with, of chasing. And I am really to a point where I'm just trying to figure out how can I meet this metric on a regular basis without having to consume myself being there every single day to figure out what is happening when I leave. So this has been really, really challenging for me, and a very simple metric to meet, but in general, just very frustrating trying to figure out getting my managers that are that I'm oversee to find this out and be able to problem solve on their own, and just looking for some support and help of trying to say, what can I do to help, just, bring them together. I have 4 of them, to be able to be on the same page and be able to recognize this metric and help them to maintain it. And that's my biggest frustration right now.
Okay, well, let's unpack it. So you've been in this role for 6 weeks.
This department, my true position as an operational manager is to oversee the store. And then we are assigned, specific areas that we actually are a little bit more involved in, that we actually oversee more, kind of not necessarily micromanage, but we're assigned to those areas, but our initial job is to oversee the entire store.
Okay. Okay. And what is the metric that you want to meet that you all are having some challenges with right now?
And it's called utilization. It's a metrics of utilization, meaning that basically when the associates actually they actually clock in, then they actually log into an app or they log into a register, and the activity that they do being logged in actually is called the utilization. So you have to be compared to who's clocked in versus who's actually being utilized in the front end, if that makes any sense to you.
No, it does. It does. Okay. So what have you done already to try to meet this metric?
So basically, when I'm there, I've broken it down to basically you have to watch, basically comparing to who's actually physically clocked in, not who's actually scheduled. So what I've done is broken it down into what affects the utilization. And basically what I've came up with is that basically you have to make sure that you understand that being scheduled on a schedule, just printing the schedule, looking at it, does not negate that that's who exactly is logged in at the time. So we're looking at gauging basically who's actually on the clock versus who's scheduled, because you might have people in training that is sitting back being trained, and bodies that you have actually logged into your clock that's coded for you to be in customer service on the front end of the store. So basically what I've realized is, taking that part of, watching in real time who's clocked in versus who I have logged into this app, because you can see and kind of compare who's logged in and who's not. But keeping up with that is the challenge. So I had a system set up with them to say every hour, just double check these things, right? So we do good during high peak time. So saying high peak meaning like throughout the weekend, we can just compare these two and we come out meeting the metric.
Okay.
Now the metrics is clocked weekly. So basically we're looking at it, and we have from the start of the week, which is Saturday for us, and then the end of the week, which is Friday for us. So basically we just got to hang on to that metric through then. So we can go through Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, and we're doing awesome. We're meeting the metric. And then somehow Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, we lose it.
Okay, let's break that down a little bit. What are your thoughts on why you're meeting your metrics in high peak times over the weekend? Why do you think you all are doing well during that time?
Well, from what I'm analyzing as a physically being there is that high activity time. So that's meaning there's nobody to just not be logged in. They have to be there. The bodies are needed to be able to assist the customers, right? So we're not really slow. I think the problem is during Tuesday through Thursday, we're a little bit slower. So they have times where they're not assisting customers on registers and on the self checkout. So that's where I think the activity is where it's killing us.
Gotcha.
On the slow times. So we actually, when they're not actually logged in and actually helping a customer physically, either on the self checkout or on the registers, that basically what's happening is that's when we're losing the points, because it's a point system, and then we're actually falling behind and we're not meeting the metrics during the slow period. So I'm trying to really get them to understand that we have to have them doing something register wise in order to keep it up on the slow period. So we're really, really just trying to figure out what can we do what can I do, I should say, to
Hmm.
help my managers understand when I'm not there? Because if I'm there, it's fine. But of course, I don't want to be there 7 days a week. And
Yeah.
I'm really just trying to stay, focus on what can I do to help them understand the things that I'm trying to get them to see that really is important about paying attention, especially during these times that we're, not as busy and making sure we have these activities going on so we don't lose that metric.
Yes. So tell me this: what do you do when you're there? What's your secret sauce?
Well, and I've shared that with them. The secret, what I do is I physically, like customer service, when the customer service slows down there, I pull them on what I call man registers, just regular registers, and I bring them out and I actually have them doing actual transactions, and I actually decrease the amount of self checkouts that we have so we can push some of the customer service into the man registered lanes in order to keep that metrics going. And they're saying they're doing this, but I can't understand how they're doing this when I see the metrics continuously to fall.
Fall. Okay.
So it's just like that's my thought. It's just trying to decrease it to push to even out the flow of traffic between the self checkouts and the man registers to ensure that we don't lose the activity on all ends.
Okay. And so when you say you've told them, how have you told them your best practice for keeping this metric high?
I've showed them. I've been there with them, so I've been there quite a few days, and I physically show them what I do. I actually, I get them involved with a lot. So I've actually verbally told them went over it as specifically just a sit down conversation to make sure they understood, and then I've also showed them as well as I've watched them do what I've done, and we've done great. But like I said, but once I leave, it's like not happening.
Do you think your managers have the confidence to do what you're asking them to do when you're not there?
Well, from what they show me, it seems like they do, but maybe that's the case. That's what that's why I'm asking because I'm not really sure exactly what's missing from what I've already done with them.
Hmm. Have you considered writing down this step?
I haven't actually. I haven't. I do text them a lot, with the
Hmm.
information, but as far as stepwise, I haven't done that. So I think that would be something that I'm definitely worth trying because definitely want to make sure that I'm giving them everything that they can of the tools that they need to be successful in it. Because it's not a hard metrics to me. It's just a basic of just getting down pat what you need to do to keep that going.
Yeah. So what it sounds like to me is that your team, like you showing them, they love when you're there. They love. How old are your managers? Do you know the age range?
Um, in their 20s and 30s. Uh
Yep.
huh.
So typically, research shows that like new managers or young generational professionals enjoy being coached. And so they enjoy not being micromanaged, but having someone to watch them do their work well. It's almost like, tell me that what you see is good. So it seems like the reason why you're getting such great metrics when you're there is because first, they love you as a manager. Kudos to you for that. They have the confidence while you're there. But when you leave, they just leave it, you leave and the sauce leaves with them. And like you sharing it with them on site when you're there, you have sit down conversations. So what do you think you'll do next based on what we discussed?
Well, I think that's a great idea, and I really believe it. Just like what you just said, I really believe that that is exactly what happens. I leave you, and the sauce leaves with me. Exactly how you said it. So what I think I'm really eager to try what you said because I mean, as simplified as you made it, I mean that makes sense. As the younger generations, are growing up in management here, they're adaptive to that coaching and that real time. So what I need to do is, I'm going to try the write down method. So
Mm-hmm.
I think that would be something truly to really just write it down and clear and concise as possible for them to be able to have this tool. So, once I leave them, that I can know for sure without a doubt that they have all of the information that they need step by step, even when I'm not there.
I love it. I love it. And so once you start to practice that, another idea you could consider is like a way to give them live feedback for their success. So if
Okay.
you
Yeah.
write it
Great.
down and then you like, give them a step by step formula, and then as they begin to follow that, you give them live feedback for their success. And what do you think will happen then?
Well, hopefully they gain the sauce that I need to tell and they love it.
Well, it seems like you know what you want to do next. What do you think about this call? How did it help you with the situation?
I really appreciate it. It just gave me a lot more to think about, with trying to help them. So, more ideas. I really appreciate that because definitely I've been eager to have that help. So the call has been great. I'm really happy to be able to call in somewhere where I can actually get some support in that manner. I really appreciate that. Thank you.
You're so welcome. Well, I would love for you to call back in a couple weeks and let me know how good your team is doing and how they're meeting that metric without you. And I know they're going to shine. I'm so happy for you. And I thank you so much for calling in tonight.
All right, sounds good. I will call back in a couple of weeks. I'll be glad to talk to you and tell you how it went.
Okay. And if you have any other issues, call me. And if you have any other managers who are your friends, you see how this worked today, have them to call me as well.
I sure will. Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
You're welcome. Have a good night.
You too. Bye
Okay.
bye.
Bye bye. Man, she has a thriving team that is thriving while she's there. And I brought in that generational knowledge for her to know, because sometimes we interact in the workplace based on our generational differences and our generational preferences. And she seemed just like how you talked to Kira on the phone. She seems like she's high energy. She is, patient, and her managers love working with her. And so while she is there, oh, they are rocking and rolling. But the issue is when she leaves, the secret sauce leaves with her. She's tried verbal, she's tried sit down. And what we just told her to do now is to try to write it down and see, and then offer some of that feedback live once they do it well on how well they actually met that metric. And what it does is kind of give those managers some more confidence. All right, y'all. Thank you all for tuning in for another episode of Chandria Circles Back. I enjoy being your executive coach on Wednesday nights at 8 p.m. If you ever have any questions, please reach out to me, and also invite a friend to jump on. So I'm new to podcasting, and the podcasting is going well, but I would love for you to invite your friends to join us on Wednesday nights. Tonight we discussed your career story, the quality of the work you do, how to network effectively. And we helped a professional who was doing her job exceptionally identify one new task that she could do to help her managers succeed in their roles. All right, y'all. Have a good night. Thanks for tuning in.